Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. At least it's morning for me on this Friday. We're gonna switch gears a little bit in this video and take a different position than what I normally would. If you're familiar with any of my content here on the channel, I normally highlight things that I personally, not always at large, but at the very least personally think are wrong, or at least going the wrong direction in games and gaming overall. In this video though, due to a lot of the subject matter I've recently covered, I want to approach it from a different perspective, and that perspective is simply this. Are we being a little too harsh, a little too critical on modern games? Let's jump into the video and break that down. So you guys know how we do things here. We like to have a conversation about this kind of stuff. Broad, large, kind of in-depth and varied conversations. That's exactly what this video is going to be. There's a lot of nuance to these types of things, and even though we may not be able to get into every single little minute detail, we're going to touch on a lot of the biggest issues that games are currently facing and whether or not they're quote-unquote valid or justified. Now, the last video I made, which was focusing on a lot of the in-depth detailed issues, was the biggest gaming crisis of our time. I've changed the title a few times. I'll link it here in the video. But I actually dove into several different games that have things going on either within the game itself or with the development teams, the studios, that the modern consumer doesn't seem to respond to. Now, what we're going to tackle in this video is, are we getting a little too ahead of ourselves in some cases where we're almost essentially as a collective consumer base, gamers, killing games that may otherwise be great products over the perception of the ideas these games may be presenting to us? So what is the biggest elephant in the room with just about every single one of the titles I talked about in the last video and a few that we're going to touch on in this video? Well, in my opinion, that is what I'm calling wokeisms. I have not coined that term. I'm pretty sure it's being used by a lot of people, but that's what it is. It's wokeisms. What people consider to be quote-unquote woke agendas. Now, most recently, we've seen this happen in Intergalactic, The Witcher 4, and Assassin's Creed Shadows. We're going to touch on Assassin's Creed Shadows here in just a second, but Intergalactic and The Witcher 4 have not even released yet. And in all honesty, they probably won't even release on time just because they're really ambitious, big projects, which a lot of games are these days and usually require 1 or 2 delays to receive an appropriately finished product. Now, what was the big deal with Intergalactic? Well, when it was revealed at the Game Awards, Intergalactic showcased a female protagonist who is of mixed race, who appears to be some sort of mercenary for hire. She's on the hunt for another target, another high-value target on this planet, and she's shaving her head. You know, she has a buzz cut, and for whatever reason, I don't really know why, people just don't like it. And I get that if you have been playing games or immersing yourself in the culture of what these social and political ideologies may or may not be, you may be more predisposed to seeking or seeing these types of things in places where they simply may not be, or at the very least prone to jumping the gun on those types of issues. With Intergalactic, I think that's exactly where we are. Personally, I just don't have any reason to believe that because the female protagonist is of mixed race and of female gender, that there's some sort of woke agenda going on with this game. It's a brand new IP. It's not related to any other game that Naughty Dog has produced, so they're not changing any of the characters or disrupting the lore or the story of the game. It's a brand new story. And if Naughty Dog is good at doing anything, they're good at telling really badass stories. We have the entire Uncharted series and most recently the Last of Us series. So Naughty Dog has a track record of delivering quality and compelling products. Moving on to The Witcher 4. Now, disclaimer, I've never personally played any of the Witcher games all the way through. I played The Witcher 3 sporadically, so I do not know the depth of the lore and the depth of the story, the world, the characters, etc. However, again, when The Witcher 4 was revealed at the Game Awards, it was revealed that Ciri, I believe her name is, a woman, would be playing the main protagonist of The Witcher 4. A lot of people really do not like that. The first 3 Witcher games were a male. I don't know his name, I'd have to look it up. Again, I didn't play the Witcher series, but I know they're good games. I know that CD Projekt Red as a studio has, again, a long track record of delivering really badass quality products. They hit some speed bumps with Cyberpunk, no doubt. That was a huge, that was like a Grand Theft Auto level type of project. They hit some speed bumps with it, but by and large, CD Projekt Red delivers solid shit. And the circulating stories around these studios being injected or filled with quote unquote woke agents or plants pushing woke and social ideology into games, I don't really think that that's founded, to be honest. I think that if you're truly experiencing something like that, whether it be, a show on Netflix or a primetime television show or a video game or music for that matter, I think it's pretty obvious, pretty clear when it's an intentional and deliberate stab at trying to get somebody to say, hey, look at me, look at what I have to say, poking the bear, essentially. I don't think that's what's happening here. I think people are diving into things that are very hot topics, that are very controversial, that have a lot of people biting at the heels of these topics. And as soon as they see anything or hear anything that they feel may touch the fringe of that, they immediately go in for the kill, assuming that that's exactly what that thing is for. Now, I'm not saying that it won't turn out to be that way. It remains unseen as these 2 games have yet to be released, but there's nothing in my mind currently that makes me feel or makes me believe that that's something that I should be concerned about. The Witcher series is a highly regarded, beloved series. I don't think that's going to change just because the protagonist in the game is a female. And I'm not really sure why gamers don't have a problem playing a female in games like Bayonetta when they're wearing skin-tight leather outfits with giant chests and giant asses. But then if it's a medieval warrior, all of a sudden it's like there's a problem. Now, Apex Legends is a little bit different of a story, but we're gonna flip the coin here and address it from a slightly different angle as well. Apex Legends dev team, the Respawn dev team, all of those guys and gals are very open about being a part of the LGB community. All of the characters in the game represent a member of that community. Now, I could fully see how some people may or may not want that type of thing in a game, or may not think it's relevant to the gaming experience. I personally don't think it's relevant to the gaming experience at all, but Apex is unique because it doesn't affect how you play the game. And that's the key difference here. That's something that people have to really understand and focus on. Yes, all of the members of Apex Legends are of this community, right? I'm just using this game as an example, but it doesn't affect how you play the game. You would never know that the characters in the game were of that community and identified a certain way. You would never know that unless you looked it up and researched it. Apex Legends is a pretty good battle royale game. It's one of the smoother, more optimized battle royale games out, even though it's old and it's probably time to come up with some new ideas. But nevertheless, you would never know that that was what was going on because it doesn't impact the way you play the game, and the game is good. It's a well-rounded game. It has its flaws, but it is one of the better battle royales on the market. So the same thing extends to these other titles, especially titles that haven't released yet. We're not even giving them a chance. Do these things do these messages, does whatever is being put into the game, does however the game is being designed, is it affecting the core of the game? Is it affecting how you play the game in a detrimental way? Is it uprooting the universe, the lore of that game? Is it changing everything that the games before were built upon? If that's the case, then I would say yes, maybe we have an argument here. But otherwise, we are really getting a little bit too prone on killing games that haven't even come out yet, that, at least in this case, are coming from highly reputable studios that produce really strong content. Now, the last game I'm going to touch on this video is Assassin's Creed Shadows, because this one is another one that has yet to release, but has been met with nothing but negativity since practically its announcement. I've talked about this game in 2 or 3 or 4 videos. I'm not going to put all the material in. However, Ubisoft did just announce that the delay of Assassin's Creed Shadows has been extended February of 2025 until March. It's only a month. Whether they did that because of the Black History Month controversy or whether they did it because the game actually needed more time, who knows? It's only 30 days, so one can speculate. This game has been under the gun for a lot of reasons. Again, I talk about a lot of those reasons in other videos, but the primary reason, the elephant in the room that everyone's upset about, is that the samurai you play in the game is African. He's an African samurai. I don't know if this guy was real. I don't know if there's ever been an African samurai. I don't know if it makes sense in Japanese culture that an African would ever be a samurai. I don't know. It's a video game. I don't know how concerned Assassin's Creed fans are about the games being historically accurate to a T in every case. I don't know, guys. Is the game going to fail because the samurai is an African? Well, right now, Ubisoft is failing for a lot of reasons, but this controversy really doesn't help. Does it mean the game is going to be bad? Inherently, I would say no. The game could end up being really, really good, but you have to understand that for whatever reason, because these issues are so hot button, this is the type of thing that the modern consumer base is concerned about. People don't like it. I don't know why. If it's overt and it's obvious what's being done and it affects the core game or it disrupts the universe, then I could understand it a little bit more. But in the case of Assassin's Creed Shadows, like the other games we've mentioned, we're looking at a game that hasn't released yet, even though Ubisoft has fumbled and dropped the ball on this title and many other portions and aspects of their business, are looking at a game that's going to end up being dead on arrival. Who knows how much money they've spent developing it? Another portion of Ubisoft could shut down, lose a ton of money. Who knows? So folks, I'm gonna wrap this video up here. I'm gonna try not to repeat myself too much on the outro, but we've got to settle down, guys. Okay, now don't get me wrong. You skim through my channel, you're gonna see a lot of videos of me shit talking games that I feel are bad games, or that I feel come from a place that's just shitty. And I have no problem doing that. If I genuinely feel that the model around the game, the business, the approach, the game itself is shit, I'll call it shit. I have no problem doing that. But we've got to settle down, guys. I understand that some games, that some studios, that some political, social ideologies shouldn't be doing what they're doing in new media. I agree with that. I'm all for that. But we're talking about instances where studios with track records of quality and satisfaction are just absolutely getting fucking railed before the game is ever even released. All of this is just based off of a fucking 2-minute long trailer of a game. And it's just getting absolutely railed. We've got to chill, man. It's a video game. It's not real. It can be anything that the people that are making it want to be. That doesn't mean that it should be something outlandish and that nobody buys and believes in because it's clearly an agenda, but you've got to give the game a chance to prove its worth and quality. So what if you're playing a fucking female? So what if you're playing a male? Who cares? Who cares? Is the game good? Does the game have an established identity? Are the core mechanics and the fundamentals of the game and the world and the systems within that world, are they good? Do they function properly? Then why are you upset? Why are you upset, man? You know how many other things you could be upset about? How many other agendas or whatever you could hit the streets marching and protesting about? Video games are just not it, man. Not to the degree that it's currently being put under a microscope. We're getting a little too far out on the fringe in a bad way. We gotta chill, okay? Let it prove itself or let it dig its own grave. It will. It will. One way or another, it will. Look at what's happening to Call of Duty Warzone. It's digging its own grave 6 feet a day. It's gonna happen one way or another. So let's relax. Let's let it prove its worth or let it fall by the wayside because it just doesn't deliver, okay? Thank you guys very much for being here. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please throw a like on it. It's totally free. And let me know in the comments what you think about all this stuff. Do you think we're being a little too antsy? That we're pulling the trigger a little too fast? I think we're getting a little too jumpy, personally. I think we're getting a little too jumpy. Let me know what you think. If you feel like being a member of the community, subscribing is greatly appreciated. I stream here on YouTube as well as on Twitch. There are links in the description all over the place. It'd be great to have you in both communities. And that's it, guys and gals. I'll see every one of you online.